great to be here. Today, I'm going to talk to you about, well, not talk to you, talk with you. I want you to engage with me. I want you to try and put some comments in. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. And I want to talk with you about AI plus E. And what I mean by E is empathy. So let's get started. So AI will pose an existential threat to humanity. Oh my God! So that's just something that Elon Musk has said, and he's a pretty smart guy, so we probably should listen to him. And fake news, we hear everywhere. Fake news, everything's fake. And we're being manipulated, some people say, by what's happening to us and how people are twisting and changing the messages that we're being given. I think if I start saying now blueberry, 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 I'm sure you'll start seeing ads on your screens in a space near you about blueberries. So we're all a little bit fearful of this. So crikey, should we get running? Should we just go? I'm going to switch all of this computer stuff off. I'm not interested. I'm going to put a tinfoil hat on and live in the countryside and never talk to anyone again. I'm not so sure. Okay, so today I really want to bring to the focus around empathy and AI. So I'm not talking about should AI have empathy? Should they have emotions and feelings? And if they did, how would that work? And how would we deal with it? What I'm talking about here is empathy in relation to people. So how do we empathize with the people when we're building these technologies and AI and data? And how should we empathize with people to make sure that we can adopt and take these new technologies further? So how are people going to respond to these new technologies? So, and as leaders, we really do need to be aware of the impact that we're having on this, and we need to ride this appropriately. We need to be able to get the best out of it. We need to be able to prosper from a technology that actually has the potential to disrupt pretty much anything and everything. At the end of this, there will be some winners and there will be some losers, and the great leaders will be the ones who have navigated this very challenging path in front of us the best. So, right, what I want to do now is move on and paint that picture. So, negativity bias. So we all have them. Some of them we're probably not aware of. Some of them we are completely aware of. Some are very, very deep rooted. And so many of these are biases that we've not chosen. We've gained them over a long, long period of time. Sometimes they're being given to us by our experiences or even our families. And sometimes we don't even know they're happening, but sometimes we do. And these biases, they're not totally useless. They're there by design. Mother Nature and evolution has been quite a powerful thing, and they've helped us to survive. And it's an incredibly amazing survival instinct. So we've always evolved to be on the safe side. Not getting eaten was a pretty high priority a long time ago. So just imagine, I'm going through the jungle and it's dark. I'm trying to find my food. I've left the tribe and something whispers and oh, crikey, there's a shadow. It might be a tiger. It could be a tiger, right? It could be a tiger, it could be a shadow. I've run. There's my negativity bias. I'm fearful of that thing and I've made a run for it. Now, the thing is though, in a very basic respect, the people who ran really survived and the people that didn't, they didn't survive. It might well have been a tiger. And they got eaten, and being eaten is a pretty surefire way to not be able to persist their genes. So this is still within us now. So when we're laid in bed and we hear a noise and we see the branches through a tree, it's us think our negativity bias, and we're thinking, oh my God, we start imagining all sorts of things. We want to run away. We're very fearful of these things. So we're very fearful, and we're hardwired to fear something that's new, something that could threaten us, something that could jeopardize everything that we've got right now. So when we hear things like AI poses an existential threat to humanity, is there any wonder we're going to go, I'm going to run. I don't like this. I don't like this. So we saw this in a quite a rudimentary way with the Luddites. So the Luddites were very fearful of this change, this new bit of technology, and that all erupted in violence. So it's almost like we humans are our own worst enemy. We'll break things that actually could really help us. And maybe that is our old instincts and things are starting to hold us back. So that's all very well and good, I'm sure. So let's put this in a bit of perspective. So let's step back a bit. Let's understand this from 50,000 feet. So how long have humans been around on this planet? They're suggesting by carbon dating about 6 million years. And that's a pretty long time, I'd say. I don't think I'd really want to live for that long. And in that time, we've evolved. So about 1.9 million years ago, we had a bit of a brain size hop, and we developed the frontal lobe and the ability for language cognition and the language sensors. And then over the recent 2,000 years, not really that much has happened. We've got a little bit taller and we've got a little bit blonder, but nothing really of any significance has happened. We haven't suddenly grown another brain and really shot on even further. So let's go to 200 years ago. Now, I want you to think, if you lived 200 years ago, there were no cars, there were no planes, definitely no computers, and medicine wasn't really that useful. I don't know, they might have had leeches, put some leeches on, or bloodletting. It's not really great though, is it? Not very scientific. There was technology though. It was fairly basic. They had ships and different modes of transport. They weren't fast, efficient, but ships were better than swimming. So let's come a little bit closer now. So technology's come a long way since 200 years ago. Let's just think about it. It was just over 100 years ago, the Wright brothers had their first flight. And then 69 years later, we're in a Boeing 747. Just let that settle. 69 years from the first ever flight of 12 seconds to a Boeing 747, and you're going on holiday to Japan. It's mind-blowing. So everything's just getting faster. I think everyone knows this. It's almost like, well, let's put this in context. And then if you ask yourself, how much have you changed in the past 20 years? You might got older and grey, but you haven't really fundamentally changed. You're still this human body. Nothing's really changed for 2,000 years or more, 1.9 million years ago. And that's really quite interesting. So we haven't even adapted to sit behind a desk, to be honest. I'm sat down now, but I'm not made to do this. So what? Technology rocks. Let's go for it. What's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? Suck it up. Come on, we're moving forward. So I'm not actually so sure that that's the right attitude to take. We have to have empathy for people and the impact that all of this technology is having. And why do we need to do that? Because we're human, and really we care. We have empathy, we have emotions, and we care about our other people in who we live with, and we want to spend the rest of our lives with. So let me tell you a story. So I'm going to tell you a story about typists. It wasn't really that long ago that there were rooms of typists, rows and rows of them, clacking away, usually women, relentlessly. And you can imagine the noise that this was making and the smell from the ink reams. And then along came this revolutionary new technology. It's going to change their world, and it's an electric typewriter. Guess what happened? You'd have thought they'd be like, yes, brilliant, less noise. No, they went, no, I don't want that. No, I'm not having those. I'm fine with this, thanks. Because what's happened here is it's going to change my world. And people don't like change. They're fearful of it. Their limbic system has gone, hey, no chance. Their egos have gone, I don't like this. And then to change their thoughts, it's very, very hard. Their egos have said, no, this is wrong. And then for someone to come along and go, actually, it's right, they're not going to change their minds. So have you ever tried to change the mind of a small child once they've made up their mind? Even if they know it's the right thing to do, they won't do it. And that's cognitive dissonance in play. So maybe if we actually said to those typists, this is something that will make you faster, better, stronger. It won't change everything. You'll do the same thing. You'll just be less noise, and you'll have less jams. Well, you won't have any jams. There are no clacky things going on the screen. Maybe that would have had a different approach. So I've got another story for you. The story of track and trace. I think this is very, very relevant and a hot topic at the minute. Now, I don't know if any of you saw a couple of months ago that there was a new feature that came up on your phone, and it was in the settings, and it was around some operation system level changes. There was a huge outcry. As soon as you said, who are you putting this on? I didn't say you could put this on my phone. What's this? This is privacy. I don't like this. And lots of people had there was a huge backlash. Lots of people on social media, and they're telling everyone else, and people made up their minds really, really quickly. So there's going to be such a low adoption to that because people have already said, I don't want that, privacy. I've already said I'm not into using that. So the adoption won't be there. However good it is, even if it's going to save, so many people's lives, people have gone, they've made that decision and they're not going to adopt it. And maybe we should have started with people's hearts and minds and had empathy for them before we actually went ahead, made changes on people's phones, got them to buy in first. It's really important, I think. So those who have knowledge don't predict. Those who predict don't have knowledge. So predicting the future will always get you into trouble is something that one of my favorite authors, Peter Drucker, once said. So we have to be really careful about what we predict the future will look like. It's not because we might get it wrong, we probably will. It's about the direction that prediction might take us in, and the fact that it actually might be a self-fulfilling prophecy. We might predict X, and we're going to make sure X comes true. So that's really, really important to keep in mind, how we speak, how we define our direction as leaders. So, I'm going to predict something, right? Straight off the back of saying you should never predict, and it will get you into trouble. I'm going to make a prediction. So, disclaimer, before I do, I'm going to caveat that I am no prophet. I'm not a digital prophet. I know those people do exist, but I'm not one of those. So my prediction is the future, it will be different. I bet some of you are hoping for something a little bit more, bold, but that's my prediction. The future will be different. So how do I know this? I know because it's about as predictable as the sunrise or tidal movements. Over the past 4 billion years, there've been some very marginal differences in this world that we live in. Maybe not massive, but they've been different. And all these little minor changes all add up. And I think we've got to be very mindful of that. So the question is AI any different? I don't know. Well, I think it is. Is AI any different to all these technologies that come before it? Yeah, I really think it is. And why is that? I think it has the ability to change everything, absolutely everything that we do, everything we touch and go about and do these days. It's got the ability to polarize our thinking and perspectives. And it's just like that whole 80-20 rule. It's going to rip things apart. And the other thing is why I think it's going to be different is it will do this at speed. The pace of change, as we all know, is accelerating more than ever before. And AI, look at what's happening already. It's being adopted so quickly, and the differences and the improvements are absolutely catastrophic almost every day. So this, I don't believe, is actually really a prediction. I think it's already happening. And I think what we're doing right now dictates our future. Every act and every different decision we make today is basically creating our future. And this is why we need to have that focus on empathy and how it's impacting not just our lives who are maybe techies, but how about everyone else? And they matter. So what can we learn? What can we learn from the stories of the typists and the track and trace? And how can we apply that to AI in our organizations and what you're going to do? So we have to be really clear in our messaging. How are we going to talk to these people? We have to get people on board first. We have to create a picture for them in the future that's brighter. And we have to also emphasize that people are still really valuable, and technology is making them better, faster, stronger, and more superhuman. And maybe they can go and do some more important and interesting things. So for AI, I believe, to truly work, we need to accept and want it. So we have to build trust in the data and AI. We have to go, we don't go steamrolling everything and change everything fast. Just like any successful digital transformation project, it starts with people. So where does AI fit in this? So this graph here is, you can tell I struck a little bit off because it plateaus off at the top, and I'm not sure if that's going to keep going or not. So what we've got is we've got a linear time, and we've got the level of AI improvement, and you can see it's pretty much an exponential curve, and you can see where we believe we might well be at the minute. So what we're doing here is AI is aiding human weaknesses. So this is enabling us to make better decisions. It's enabling us to see things that we might not have discovered, just like that we saw with the cancer detection. And I know like pigeons got pretty good at that as well. So it's helping us do the repetitive tasks, stuff that humans aren't really that good at. It can be creative, but I think that this is where combining the two things together is really, really interesting. So I've seen inspiration in music by using a machine learning model. You put in what sort of things you want, and it might craft a beat or a tune or a rhythm. And that it inspires the musician to then create and do different things. We've seen it where it's building structures and different buildings and different things. And what's really interesting is when you see these iterations that are almost an evolution, just sped up within millions of years within hours. Actually, what comes out of it, what the computer has designed, looks very, very organic. It's almost like, wow, that's a bit of a serendipitous thing. And it's amazing. We would never have thought of these things, although we could have probably borrowed from nature, but the computer's done it for us. So it's improving and helping us to be really powerful. There will be a point where it has the potential to overtake our weaknesses, and it has the potential to overtake our strengths. And this is where it's going to be really interesting. And this, again, where I totally believe where we have to be empathetic and we need to embrace this in the right way so it doesn't completely crash us. So right now we have something called narrow AI. So what do we mean by a narrow AI? We mean things like the Google Assistant, the voice interfaces where you ask it a question, Tesla's autopilot, Gmail's autocomplete when writing emails, all ace bits of kit, but they're very, very narrow. They're not general AI, the quote that Elon Musk was talking about. So a lot of the AI that we see these days is the narrow AI. It's not fully aware. It doesn't have the ability to reason, and they don't think abstractly, and they don't really plan. But this is the sort of stuff that will really mark future. So when we are on our data and AI journey, we have to have empathy towards the people it's going to touch. It's going to have an impact on them. We've got to really think about how this is going to change what people are doing. And again, using that language, I just used it then, change. Maybe how's it going to improve what they're doing? But we have to think, how will it change their lives over a longer period of time? And it's important that we do that. We need to start by asking the right questions. So how do we want to answer? What do we want to answer with our data? How can we integrate this? I think it's really important. Why now? Who should get involved in these projects? So do we look at what other people are doing? What can we learn from them? What works well and what doesn't? And it's really important to think, smart people learn from their mistakes, and really smart people learn from other people's mistakes. So go and see what other people are doing, and if they'll share the mistakes, great. So how do we go about doing this? So I think there are some very broad ingredients to successfully delivering data-related projects. And these are data, obviously we need some of that to do a data-related project. The interface, I think this is something that's really overlooked. So how do we interact with it? So those subtle things when using Gmail and you can tab through and it will automatically complete, that's such a great way of interfacing with the human being. I gave a talk around data and AI, and a guy who owned a bakery asked me, how do I get some of this? Can I have a box in the corner and plug it in? No, not really. It doesn't really work like that. It's understanding how it interfaces and how we engage with it. And the final part of the puzzle is people. So we need people to engage with this, to want this, to input to this. And we put all of those things together, and I think that's where we're going to have really amazing results. So we have to listen to these people to actually get these results. We've got 2 eyes and 1 mouth. So 2 eyes, 1 nose, and 2 ears. And we've got to listen. So we're going to do more of this and less of that. So why does this matter in the north? So I'm a northern lad. I'm from Sheffield, born and bred Sheffield. And I love the north. And if you think about it, the technology that came to the north, our textiles in Manchester, Leeds, I think they're Fintech at the minute, Sheffield, well known for its steel, that technology came and made this place what it is. And I think if we don't adopt this technology, others will, and we'll get left behind. And as this is accelerating so quickly, we won't be able to catch up very easily. And I personally want to make a future in the north for my children and my children's children. I want them to have the best futures. I don't want them to have to emigrate to London to do the things that they want to enjoy doing. So that's why I think it's really important that we adopt these technologies and we're not fearful of them, and we amplify the humble brilliance of the people here in the north. So what does your data future look like? We're all on that journey and we all have these risks and we're all fearful of what it's going to do. So we have to empathize with these initiatives. We have to take an attitude that failures, they will happen, but they're valuable. And it's that mindset of going, well, how much did we learn from that failure? What can we do differently next time? And if you think you tried everything, I'd say that you're a liar. I think if you tried everything, you'd have actually found the answer and found what will work. We need to start small. We need to make little bets. Don't go all in. You wouldn't go to a casino and go, right, I put everything on black today and expect it to win. You'd learn. And I think that's really important. So let's start on that journey with people. Start with the people. Let's make them faster. Let's make them stronger. Let's make them superhuman. So just to end off this conversation, I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I might have provoked some thinking. And what I'd like to do is ask you can visit razor.co.uk/data. And what we have on there is some interest. If you share your interest in wanting to explore with data, we'll give back to you. We'll come and spend some time with you and share some very specific information. We'll also give you early access to our Razor Data Sprint. And this is a whole process that we've honed over a number of years that we know works to engage with your people in terms of data and actually get real results and start making things happen. And we'll also share you some of the very specific stories where we've made this work and delivered very narrow AI, but with people first, and it's been really adopted. So I'd like to say thank you to AI Tech North, and thank you to everyone who's been involved with this, and thank you for you guys for listening, and I hope you found it useful. Thank you.